people are waiting for a magic wand and bippity boppity boo, there we go.
Welcome, everyone, to the Autoimmune Hour. I'm Sharon Sayler from SharonSayler.com. And as always, it's my honor and pleasure to be with you here on another brand new episode and a brand new year. Oh, my goodness, I can't believe it. We're into 2024 already. And who better than to call but my dear friend, Pamela Sylvan, the Mojo Maker, plus so many other things. She's awesome. And I just love talking to her. Always got things to do, things to think about for us to keep motivated and keep going in the right direction. And she recently sent out in her wonderful Saturday newsletter, she sends out the most amazing newsletter every Saturday. We have to talk to her about that. She sent out her top 40 things. I was thinking like the top 40 music kits and things like that. But she sent out top 40 things to think about. So I'm really excited. We're going to talk to her. I tried to find my top 5 of the 40 and I failed miserably because I love them all. So we'll talk about some of the ones that really popped out to me. But let me tell you her bio because she's awesome. She's been on the show before and she's always just, everyone adores Pamela. She is a highly accomplished personal development whisperer, primarily for midlife women who know they are not done yet. And I like to say that about us autoimmune thrivers. We're not done yet either. And with for people who'd like to express and flow with more vibrancy in their lives, and for over 35 years of experience in the field of self improvement, public relations training and development, and leadership, Pamela has established herself as a respected expert and sought after speaker. I was going to say thought leader. And then I'm reading your bio and it says sought after speaker, but I'm going to say thought leader too, Pamela. We're going to put that in there. we'll, we'll talk
Love
more
it.
about yeah. We'll talk more about Pamela's amazing bio, and we'll have it in the show description too, because I want to get right to it. I just love talking with Pamela. So, welcome to the show, Pamela. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you for inviting me, Sharon. I just love coming on your show and speaking with you and your audience. And happy New Year to you and to all of those that take the time to listen to the information that you bring all the time. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Oh, thank you, my dear. Now, one of the things I have been following recently, not too recently, I think you've been doing it for a while now. You have chosen to do what I call van life weekends. And I
Yes.
love following those adventures of yours because you have this, I don't know, let's find out the vibrancy to you.
Yeah.
And at first, I want to ask you about what prompted you to do that. I think a lot of us think about, oh, yeah, I would love to just wander here and find my sense of adventure over there. And I do it vicariously through Pamela. So,
I was lucky enough to run into somebody that had that same passion for epic road trips and the outdoors and being in nature. And he had put the idea to me. And when I say he, my significant other, my partner in life, and he said to me, Let's consider the whole van life thought." And I really didn't even understand what that meant initially. And then as he explained it to me, and I thought to myself, you know what, I can do this. I never thought myself as any big time camper or anything, but I thought, why not? So I had gone camping beforehand. So it wasn't a big deal. But when I started to hit the road with these epic, life changing road trips, I was sold every weekend without fail, wherever the weather is doing is immaterial. We hit the road and we find the most gorgeous spots that you couldn't get into as an RV or any sort of larger vehicle than what we have. We have a customized van and it's off grid for a season. It's life changing. I get to be up close to life, up close to nature, up close in the rainforest, up close in mountain views and valleys. And I really do feel I have had a life changing connection to the essence of life. And that's all, I think that's the best I can give you on that one. It's a life changing connection to the essence of life.
I can attest to that because I vicariously watched Pamela's amazing YouTube channel and followed her through her amazing newsletter and other things. And I've noticed the morphing, the transition, and it's
Yeah.
just been so fascinating and fun to watch. And you could just I just watched it on her YouTube channel. I can just see her beam, and I just love that.
And you know what? It's also great for your skin. And I say that in a joking manner, but when I'm out there, especially in the rainforest, and you're sitting there and it's misty or something, it's very cleansing, and you can really take some amazing deep breaths, which I make sure I do every time I'm there.
That's fantastic. Now, I want people to understand when you say rainforest, you're not talking Amazon.
No, the Pacific Northwest on Vancouver Island in Canada.
I just
We've
wanted
got one up there too. We have one up there too.
Yeah, I just wanted people to what rainforest is she in? She's in an amazing rainforest, too, as well.
Mhm,
So,
mhm.
now, I wanna have time to chat about this amazing, list that you just sent out in your latest newsletter about the top 40, and
Yep,
as I said, I failed miserably in choosing my favorites, but there was one that stood out to me that I would really like you to delve deeper into, and I'm gonna
sure.
read it because, I can't remember it verbatim, so guys, I'm sorry that I'm taking eye contact and reading something here. Use
Mhm.
the 10-3-2-1-0 formula for the perfect night's sleep. 10 hours before bed, no more caffeine. I laughed at that one. 3 hours before bed, no more food or alcohol. 2 hours before bed, no more work. 1 hour before bed, no more screens. 0
Yeah,
snooze button hits in the morning.
yeah.
So I said yes. And then a little part of the evil twin goes, yes, and so explain how we do this and then also how we keep our motivation up to continue it.
Before I even dive deeper into that particular formula, uh, I'm really big on systems. I am very hard-headed and stubborn when it comes to getting things done. Here I hold myself up as an accountability coach in the broader sense of things, yet it's very difficult for me to get myself to do the things that I say that I'm going to do. So I have to come up with these little systems that I can follow along. I have what I call a manifestation wall, and all of these reminders go up there. So as I accomplish something, I get a little tick. I'm very big on seeing the thing happen real time. I go by, I make a tick. Okay. By the end of the day, I'm feeling really good that I managed to put a check mark beside something. So that formula of going to bed with the 10 hours before bed, no caffeine, and so forth, is running a program within myself about how my body runs. Because of the way caffeine hits or lands on me, and I have no intention really of giving up caffeine at this point, but if I allow myself to drink caffeine too close to my bedtime, I'm not gonna get the type of sleep that I really do need to function properly the next day. So 10 hours before bedtime, no caffeine, if at all possible. We are human beings, we sometimes slip, but at least I have a plan.
Right.
And then screen time, the same thing, as far away from bedtime as possible. Again, we're human beings, but at least I have a plan. So every day I get to see how well I was able to trigger the plan and put it to use. And what did I do well? What didn't I do well? I beat myself up over nothing, but at least I'm making the effort. And sometimes I'm bang on. Other days I blow it out of the park. It's nothing's happening. Over the holidays, didn't do too well because of what I'm away from home. I'm at somebody else's home and all the excuses in the world, but I can go back to it because it's a blueprint. And sleep is a very important part of our lives, and we are sleep deprived like crazy because we're distracted. We have these screens in front of us all the time, and we're not getting the type of sleep that we need to function properly and appropriately to make our minds an amazing tool for us to use. So our minds are and our brains aren't working at full function because we are so sleep deprived and dehydrated. I'll put that in too.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. And talk about sleep deprived. We had sleep experts on before that explained to me, and I think when I thought about it as more as a scientific for my brain, sometimes I need the science behind things.
Mhm.
And when you sleep is when the garbage gets taken out. All the things not only in your brain, but your whole body just goes into this
That's
healing
right.
mode. And out goes the
Th
garbage. It was like,
that's
okay.
right. That's right. And most people are running around with high levels of cortisol because they're not getting the adequate amount of sleep. And that's why even losing weight becomes an issue because our bodies can't go into that sweeping away mode that you just spoke about because we are not allowing it to sleep. We eat way too late into the evening. So our natural clocks are fighting against what we've just done to it. So it can't take out the debris from our bodies. We have these sort of 3 8-hour cycles that if you're an intermittent faster, you understand what those cycles are about with your body. We are always interrupting them. That's why getting adequate amount of sleep, you are then helping your body go into the mode that it needs to go into to do the work it needs to do on your behalf. Whenever possible, try to work with your body as opposed to against it.
Mm, absolutely. Now, you're always great at how you can frame things for other people when you've got, I'll say, bad news. If you wanted to prioritize your sleep as an individual, and I'll say other family members, maybe you are the one who's wanting to go to bed early and somebody else is a night owl or whatever.
Mhm,
Do you have
mhm.
graceful ways of telling them that, hey, new change of plans for 2024. I'm going to prioritize my sleep. Any thoughts on how to break that to people?
See if you can have them buy into it with you because it's not just something for yourself, it's good for everybody, right? It was a conversation I had with my partner because when he moved down over to Victoria from Ontario and my whole loony kind of cycles he was met up with, and he raised his eyebrows. What do you mean you're going to bed at 8 o'clock? What is that? But he saw the value in that, and because I'm an early bird, I'm up by 4 o'clock in the morning, and he saw the value in that. It takes practice. It took practice for me to do this. I think when people you explain things to people in a manner that they will find valuable and see what it's doing for you, they slowly begin to buy into it because to me, at this age in our lives, well, we're no longer spring chickens. What can we do to raise the quality and the value of our life? And to me, being clear-headed is one of them. Enjoying my mobility to its fullest is another one. So what can we do either through the use of food, sleep, hydration, good quality content through books, reading, videos, all of these things, conversation, the people we meet. What are the good things that we can enlist for ourselves and hold ourselves responsible for so we do find the quality of life that we're seeking? And others in our life would want that for themselves too, as well as want it for you too. So he's bought in fully. He looked at it strange at first because that's not something that he ever thought about. But once you put something in front of people with the science, as you say, that you need the science behind some things, you get to see that they eventually will understand that you are taking your life seriously, especially this part of your life. We have a wonderful pot of time available. And when I say a pot of time, you and I might live to be 100 years, Sharon, but what quality of life will it be? There's no use getting to 100 and you don't remember your name and someone else is responsible for all of your bodily needs and functions. It's not the same. Right now, we are mobile, upright. We remember our names most of the time. Now is a great time. We are full of wisdom. We are full of vim and vigor, and there's so much that we can bring to the table. Use all of this. Use what you have at your disposal and create that masterpiece for yourself and let others see you doing it so they can do it for themselves as well.
And that's what I love. You're such an accountability person, an amazing accountability coach, and you're great at visualizing things. If people are like, Pamela, I agree with that concept of limited time. And what are some first steps if I have never really written it down or put it up on my wall so I could check it off? I love the 10-3-2-1-0 formula, but what are some other ways I can hold myself accountable to the things that are on my to-do list that I keep saying, okay, I'm going to do this is the year, this is the year, and then another year passes. How do you hold yourself accountable?
First of all, reevaluate that list because if things are pushed back all the time, they may not be as valuable to you as you think they are. And I think we build up this sort of pressure on ourselves about pushing ourselves towards things, but why are we pushing ourselves towards these things? Is it because we think we should? Other people told us we need to focus on these things. But if it's really important to you, it it shouldn't be a huge push. Yes, there are things that sometimes we avoid because there's some work involved, and anything that we start anew is awkward and messy. So there's that to deal with. But reevaluate what you really want in your life. And it might be only one or two things tops at this point, and that's totally fine. We don't have to do everything anymore. We've done a lot already. If you were to look back on your life as opposed to looking forward, if you turned around and looked at everything you accomplished and wrote it down, you would cry. All
I think
right.
that was one of your points, was a
Yes.
reverse bucket list.
Reverse bucket list. We have this thing about looking forward and to look at all the things that we haven't done yet, but we have walked a long way already. Look back at those things. Write them down. They are your legacy, not just for other people, but for you. We forget what we have done with our lives and our energy. But at the same time, reevaluate where you want to go next. Find something that's important to you. It might be one thing, and then set up the process to win. Set up it. Let's just say, as an example, because it's an easy one for everybody to visualize. Say you do want to get into the best shape of your life, or you want to lose a certain amount of weight or what have you. That's an easy one for people to see. But how do you do it? We've had all of these stops and starts in our life around this point. So I say this is the goal, write down the goal. And what would it take every day for you to do that? Would it mean put on your running shoes? There's one thing to do. It might mean making sure you have 8 glasses of water a day. Put that down as a step. Maybe it might entail that you ensure that you have at least 2 or 3 servings of fruits and veggies. Put that down as a goal and meet that goal. And maybe it might mean being outside for 30 minutes doing a really great walk. Put that down as a goal. And every day, make sure you check off those 4 or 5 things on that list. And that's it. It doesn't have to be anything gargantuan or grandiose or backbreaking. The biggest point here is that we have some wonderful thoughts and ideas. The major thing missing is how do we work with ourselves and not against ourselves. We are still like little children in there. With the minute we say we want to do something, we get all excited, and then the excitement wears off, the people run away, and we're left alone with this ideal or this goal, and it fades away, and we go back to our default mode. It's working against ourselves. Set up a system to win. And in the beginning, this is why I count myself as an accountability coach. Find someone to help you stay accountable until you can do it alone. Because as much as we want the things that you say that we want, we are not well practiced at crossing certain finish lines. You've crossed many finish lines in your life, Sharon. I've seen the books. I've seen all the work you've done. You've done some amazing things, as many people have, right? And we forget that we've done those things.
It's amazing how fast we forget or we diminish them.
Mm,
Oh, no big deal.
yeah,
But in hindsight, or maybe from somebody else's eyes, it is a big deal.
it is a major big deal. And that's why the reverse bucket list is such a powerful concept. We've forgotten how amazing we truly are.
And part of me, another one of your tips was about embracing the inner child. And instead of a check mark, my inner child wants to go get those little gold stars.
That's a check, right? Whatever you need to do, and you put it somewhere where you can see it. We all have these sort of journals or day timers or what have you that we think we're going to do something with, and we go out and we buy the nicest one or the prettiest one or the most expensive one or whatever. For me, I was terrible at opening the book after 2 weeks. It's on my desk, unopened, unused. My great plan to do whatever with it, it never came to fruition. This is why the manifestation wall is powerful for me. I have to walk by it every day. I don't have to open an app. I don't have to open a book or look for a book. It's there on the way to the washroom every time. So I have to pass by it many times in the day. And there's nothing worse for me than standing at this wall looking at it and see missing check marks on simple things that I could have done. I could have put on those running shoes. I could have drunk that water. Simple things, simple things.
Now I'm thinking, what about families? Could each person like get a section of the wall and each have a manifestation wall so you could hold each other accountable as you walked by? And I'd say, "Oh, Pam, would you like some water?"
Even better, the more people involved in this, the better. This is why I encourage quests. I run 90-day quests with people so they can feel as if they have the accompaniment and eyes on them while they move through this. And I always advocate for people about who they are as a human being. We're all very similar in many ways. We all have desires and aspirations and visions for our life. And we get excited in the beginning, and then the excitement wears off, and then we are stuck in this no man's land of drudgery. And that's where many people turn back or quit. That's why the gyms are filled this week and will be empty in 3 weeks again, because it wears off. People go back to their default mode. And they don't understand that because no one talks to them about that. They sell them the memberships, they sell them the diet plans, they sell them the bills, but they don't sell them the insight. They don't understand who they are in all of this. We have to understand that, you know what, in 3 weeks, I'm going to hit the wall. What am I going to do? What's my implementation strategy on week 3? What about week 6? What happens at week 9? I know myself. Oh, there's a big birthday coming up. I'm planning to fly off somewhere in 3 months. What happens in that at that point? We have to take into account who we are as an individual and who we are as a human being, because as human beings, we act in like manner. And only about 1% are aware enough to actually do what they need to do to keep going to get the results that they want to get.
Yes, I'm one of those. I can make it fairly far, but
Mhm.
yeah, I do tend to get distracted easily. What's that old saying? Squirrel?
Yes, and again, a human trait. You're not alone. We all meet up with those days and those moments, and it's to know that about yourself. What happens when the squirrely moments come? What happens when life hits you as a curveball, sad news comes your way, a friend who might have passed away, or there's certain things we have to take into account life's journeys and the things that are going to come up along that time. What happened? What will you say to yourself when you are hit with bad, distracting news? What are you going to do? You might want to talk to yourself about that before it happens, if it happens at all. It may not happen. So it's understanding who you are in this game. That's why I like to gamify everything I do, which really what running these quests are all about. It's a game and understanding that things will come up and I'm not going to be happy some days, and that's okay. Personal development is not about rainbows and unicorns in the sky 24/7. It's real life. And who are you? How are you predisposed to handle bad news, uncomfortable situations, difficult moments, criticisms from friends and family, and even maybe your own health issues that will come up? Especially at this age in our life, things are happening to our bodies now.
And I know it's not comfortable thinking about those things. Part of that little thing on my shoulder that comes and stomps its foot. It's like, I don't want to think about those sad things. I don't want to.
Mhm.
I just want rainbows and unicorns and and
Oh, I love a good rainbow, but I also understand that the rainbow also fades too.
this is related to me in my mind because one of your tips was about trusting your gut. And
Yeah.
it was something to the fact of, but not an uninformed gut. And it sounds like when you're saying do some of pre-thinking about possibilities beforehand, are we informing our gut?
Yes, to make friends with that side of yourself, your intuitive side of yourself. This is the other thing I work with people about is to understand that there are forces and acting upon you that you've always had, but you have not trained yourself. You have not been trained in these things on how you manifest the energy within you and the insights that come along the way to guide you in certain things. We do not trust ourselves. We'd rather run to somebody else to ask them about ourselves. And how is somebody else supposed to know about us? We give that power away. You understand you, but you don't allow yourself to trust that knowledge about you because we have been trained away. We've been entrained away from trusting ourselves. We would rather give $100 to someone to say, "Tell me about me." And you walk 24/7 with yourself all day long and pay no attention to that.
Absolutely, and taking the time. I know one of your other ones was about practicing the art of laziness. I had a
Mhm,
little bit of a moment of reaction to that word, but now that we've had a chance to talk about some of this, to me,
mhm.
it's taking a art of, I think you called it strategic laziness now that I'm thinking about
Strategic.
it.
Yeah.
But to me,
Yep.
it was taking moments of, longer than moments for me, of reflection, of really
Yes.
thinking about, I know that the 20-year-old me had completely different wants and needs and desires than the me now. And so I'm not sure that I've really sat down in great detail with strategy in mind of, okay,
Mm.
what are those differences? And some of those old programs from 20, 30, 40 still running? They
Of
could.
course they are. Of course they are. Anything that has become habit or habitual within us is hardwired in there because it takes a certain amount of energy to get it to be hardwired. So once it's there and it never goes away, we think we can break this habit and we can get new habits, but the old ones are still hanging on for dear life. So it's to really understand that about yourself. When you actually sit down with pen and paper and ask yourself some questions. I'm going to do a little plug for one of my products that I have. It's going over your previous year, the things that you thought about, the things that you brought into manifestation. It's asking yourself questions. It's like having a really great board meeting with yourself going through this process. Like I said, I have just held up a day timer for 2024, and a lot of people just skip into writing things and planning, but they haven't had time to do a review. What happened? What where did you go right? Where did you miss the mark? Why did you miss the mark? To really sit back and take an overall view going into the next doorway, or which is 2024, you have a full understanding of the programs that we're running in 2023. Do you want to keep them? Do you want to do something about them? Do you want to keep getting the same results for the next year? Because a lot of people don't understand what they're dealing with. They're dealing with a very powerful force. It's an amazing force, but because we have no control over it, we don't get what we want. This is to understand who you are, the energy that's running you, the program that you're laboring under, and what you can do and take responsibility for to change that up for yourself. It takes time, it takes effort, but it's doable, and to have a plan about it.
Now, I'm thinking out loud here. A couple of friends come to mind. I'm thinking if you ask them how last year went, I'm not sure they would really even be able to answer that. They're so busy, I'll put in air quotes, doing, that I'm not sure they would even know what they did
No,
365 days ago.
no, most people don't. There are a lot of people who continue to get great results because they have a great program in place, right? Their
Mhm.
default is somebody else's huge aspiration. So they have a huge and a beautiful program in place. They may not be giving themselves the time to rest and reflect, but if they're happy getting what they're getting, kudos to them. I always say, look back, maybe you can do even better or fine tune and tweak your process and let yourself off the hook in some ways. But most people keep running the same ineffective, laborious program because they didn't take time to look. Now, if you were running a business or a corporate, or you were leading a corporation, there is no way you would let the new year come without reflecting back on your past year. It would be mandatory for you.
Yeah, they call it strategic planning.
That yes, your life is no different. Your life is no different. We think because it's just our life that we just all we need to do is wake up, go through, brush our hair, brush our teeth, and off we go, and without any forethought into this. And when it comes to things like sitting down and planning and thinking or taking time to reflect, it just sounds so it sounds so decadent, or it sounds something like something other people do because I don't have time for that, I have to get to work.
That's kind of what was I was hearing the comment. I was thinking of my couple of friends who I mentioned that about was, I can hear them saying, I don't have time for that. I gotta get the kids up. I got just this whole
Yes.
long reasoning rationale of why they don't have
Change
time.
the thinking that we have about we don't have time for that. Actually, I wrote a blog post about that this morning on my blog. We don't have time for that. It's as a program that we run all the time because we heard someone else say it. So we picked it up and then we carry on and then we pass it on to our people, our young ones, our children. So they start saying the same. They don't have time to reflect on their life. So what is it that we're running around doing the entirety of our lives then? Right?
That's a good question. And I'm thinking about if you don't have time to plan it now, do you have time to fix it later? Or do you have time? I'm thinking about health. I'm going to paraphrase a quote that someone sent me recently, and it's, if you don't have time for your wellness, do you think you have time to heal? And
Oh,
it's like,
it will cost you a lot. And I'm not just talking financial, I'm talking spiritual. It will be a spiritual mess for you because you didn't take time to understand yourself, the power that your body that flows through your body that helps that goes toward your healing. You wouldn't know how to enact or trigger it when you need it.
well, you know what? And just as acted and triggered right now as I looked at the clock and we've blown past our commercial break, Pamela. So we're going to trigger that. Welcome back, everyone, to the Autoimmune Hour. I'm Sharon Sayler, and I'm here with the amazing Mojo Maker, Pamela Sylvan. She's been offering us great ideas to live our best life yet. And I'm a big fan of her Saturday newsletter. Go over there and get that. As well as she's been sharing us some amazing tips and tricks, and you gotta see her YouTube channel too, so we'll get the URL for that as well. As you've been hearing some amazing things about getting our life in the way that we want to and living our life the way we want to. Now, Pamela, a few other things came to my mind. I wanted to talk about, I'm gonna read it. Be unapologetically enthusiastic about the things you love, whether it's vintage action figures or knitting or passions are infectious. Love is love. So I love that one. That I told you that from her newsletter, everyone, there were 40 tips about the new year. And we've covered several of them. So I was like, oh, Pam brought that up. We don't need to talk about that one. But one of my favorite ones was be unapologetically enthusiastic about the things you love. And I want to put the people, places, things, and everything you love.
Yes, I totally love people who love what they're doing, even if it seems oddball to me or it's not something that I would do. I love the energy that they bring to their thing. Like this past summer in my travels across the country, I ran into a gentleman who has been collecting vintage items for about almost 40 years, and this barn is just chock full of stuff. And you can see the passion he has for all of this. I don't know how he's ever going to get rid of any of it, but that doesn't matter because his energy and love for his collection of oddities has rubbed off on many people. Designers go there to find things for their clients when they're building homes. We found something for the Nova Scotia property. It's not something I would ever in a million years consider doing. No, it's not my love. His love brought value to my life. That's why I say to people, fall in love with something and unapologetically do it, no matter what anyone says, because you don't know whose life, that not to mention the energy of your life, but you don't know whose life you're touching because you're in love with something. Bring love to the situation.
Absolutely. I had friends a few years ago because the show's been going on since January of 2015. So a
Mhm.
while now. And I've had friends say, that is just an irrational passion. And my response is, thank you.
Absolutely. It frightens me that people don't have that.
Yeah, I know. I love it. It's a commitment.
Yeah, if you're not irrationally passionate about something, what is it that you're doing then?
Exactly. And you can be irrationally passionate about more than one thing. Everybody.
Oh, absolutely. Don't we just love giving our energy, whether it's the energy of money, attention, and time to those people, whether they are great chefs or cooks or designer clothes makers or writers or authors or podcasters. We love giving our currency of time, energy, and money to those places because of what the energy that they're emitting and amplifying. That's where we go. Energy flows where energy goes.
I love the idea of unapologetically being irrationally passionate about something.
Yes.
You don't
Yes.
owe anybody an apology for it.
No, no, and the more irrational, even the better, because really, to me, we live in a world that's just waiting for us to wake up to the magic that surrounds us. Now, I use magic not in that sort of way where people are waiting for a magic wand and bippity boppity boo, there we go. I'm talking about the esoteric essence of life and the ineffable things of life that we ignore or we miss because we live our lives in defaults. It's all there waiting for us to take notice of it. I call that magic when you start to notice it's been there all the time. And I run these experiments just to prove that it's true. And it's so true. And once you start seeing some of this stuff, you can't unsee it.
Eh,
Other
I
people totally miss it.
I agree, yes, and tell me, how do you run an experiment to find your magic? This is so fascinating.
It's all you have to do is say to yourself, what is it you want to see and or experience? It will be different for everybody. Start small so you don't freak yourself out. Start like I started with
Ladders? Like walking
yes,
up
yeah,
ladders?
yeah, ladders. I said, okay, let me just try to see what will happen, right? Now, ladders are not anything fantastical. Everyone's graphic has a ladder, right? But how many times a day do you see one? You can't speak of the last time you saw a ladder, right? But if you make it from this moment forward and say, you know what? After I finish talking to Pamela, I'm going to count how many ladders there actually are out there. It'll be shocking to see how many ladders you go by every day without seeing it.
Isn't that the theory of seeing red cars? The idea that you
Same thing. Just goes to show you we don't see half of the things that we want to see because we don't ask, we don't consider, we have tunnel vision through our life. Meanwhile, the red cars, the ladders, the butterfly, the love, the health, the money, all of it goes sliding by us because we're too busy.
I think you're being generous when you say we miss 50% of what's out there. I'm gonna say that you're being extremely generous thinking that we see half of it.
Okay. But the point being is that we have the ability to run these experiments. Give yourself an experiment. What do you want to see? Go do it. Go see it today. Because it's the power of intention, the power of now.
And I'm really intrigued how many ladders are out there after we get done talking here and I go out and about during my day, I'm gonna start counting ladders and I'm gonna email you, Pamela, how many
My neighbor had one across the garage. How many times do I walk by this thing and have never seen that ladder?
exactly.
Okay. And that's the whole point. There are things all around us that we blink on and blink off based on how we set up our lives to see whether it's positive aspects or negative aspects about ourselves or other people. It works in like manner. We only get what we think about, we see only what we want to see. And we are trained that way.
Okay, so challenge ourselves to change our seeing, our thinking, our visualizing what's out there.
Our
And
worldview.
oh, okay, I challenge our worldview. Absolutely. I like to challenge my worldview a lot. And I think it's really important. One thing I've noticed is how do I diplomatically say this? Some people I have met can only hold one idea in their head at one time and be okay. And I
Mhm.
really want to challenge people. How about holding more than one idea, maybe even opposing ideas in your head and being okay?
Yeah,
Oftentimes
well,
around the idea of wellness. Oh, the doctor told me I'm sick.
yes, the doctor told you you're sick. And I say, people, here's an opportunity to put a lot of these experiments to work. The doctor said something. Do you accept it or don't you accept it? A lot of people swallow right away.
Right.
So there it starts right there. Do you accept it? Now, it doesn't mean that you ignore the reality of the thing. It means you get to go to work on this now because you understand something about life. You understand something about your energy and power. Something was said. You can decide now how you're going to take it the rest of the way. Do you burrow deeper and deeper into the sentence, or do you now begin to dissolve it based on what you know?
Absolutely. I use the tail and it's gross, guys, but my community's heard it before. And Pam's might have heard it before too. Um, I talk about this idea of someone comes, like a exterminator comes to your house and says, you have cockroaches.
Mhm.
Okay, you have two choices. Okay, am I going to live with it? Or okay, thanks for the information. Now what do I do to get rid of it?
That's right.
This
That's
idea
right.
of you have doesn't mean ownership if you don't
No.
take ownership.
No, absolutely. People take it and they wear it like a badge of honor. Okay, that's a choice. And it's not to say that we don't understand that something is going on with your body. Many of us are going around with something going on with our body. It's how you wear the information. And a lot of people wear that kind of negative, heavy information like a badge of honor because it brings attention. And a lot of people that hear that don't like to hear that because we're hitting a sore spot, either about helplessness or victimization or something like that. But wearing information like that in such a heavy manner is depleting your power and your energy and your essence in a way that takes you away from being able to do anything about it.
Which wraps around to one of my other favorite ones that you had. I'm going to read this one too. I had this one out. Number 35, everybody. Treat your future self like a dear friend. Invest in your health, financial stability, and personal growth as acts of kindness to your future you. I love
Yes.
that. I think that
Yes.
really wraps into what we were just saying.
Absolutely. Like you mentioned earlier, some of the decisions or your likes or values when you're in your 20s and 30s are probably not who you are today.
Oh,
But
absolutely.
since
Not at
but
all.
yeah, but if let's just say at 20 or 30 you have the foresight to talk to who you are today, what kind of conversations would have been had? What decisions would have been made or not made? So now that we understand the concept of future self-thinking and planning, what decision are you making in the now that will either positively or adversely affect Sharon in 10 years from now? Would she thank you or would she give you the look?
You know what? I was thinking about the 20-year-old Sharon would have said something about looking at someone the age I am now and saying, "Oh, I will never be that way." Okay.
Mhm,
All right. All right. All right. Fair.
mhm.
The 20-year-old Sharon never added, because I am going to implement this and this. I'm going to exercise every day now, starting early. The statistical probability would not be there as great to the future self I'm talking to. So I think like I missed the point. I would get to the I'm not going to, but I missed the point, the 20 something Sharon missed the point of, okay, so what are you going to implement now to make sure that comes true in the future?
That's right, because we can't have this wonderful vision for ourselves. We talk about vision planning and goal setting and all these things, but not making the decisions today that person down the road is going to thank you for, whether it be maybe giving up sugar or alcohol or getting more sleep or hydrating more, or even who we surround ourselves with. Who do you want in your life in 10, 15 years from now that you're talking to today that you shouldn't really be entertaining today? Because all of these things hold down your life essence if the decision isn't well thought out. Some things are a lifetime of regret. Like, when I think about the choices I made in my 20s, I wish the Pamela of today I was more connected to the Pamela of today. The choice I made then, how is it gonna affect me when I hit 60? I'm thinking, "Geez, I can't go back and change that." But what I can do is sit myself down with that boardroom plan that we talked about earlier and say, okay, my decisions that I make right now, what will it mean for Pamela at 70? What will it mean for Pamela at 75, 80, 90? If life smiles down on me that long? Will me taking better care of my body, my meat body, well, it mean that when I get to 80, that my mobility is still with me because I gave up some debilitating things like sugar, less caffeine, alcohol, all the things that might be not good choices for the body that I have right now. My future self say, "Well done."
Well done. And I want to say well done because we're just about out of time. We've got 4 minutes left, Pamela. And I've just loved our conversation. When you and I get together, time flies.
Mhm.
Oh, but I do want to give you this time for some shameless self promotion because you do the most amazing work. And I did not say your URLs. I've got them on like speed dial, my newsletter, her Saturday newsletter, and her YouTube channel and her website. So share with us where people can find more about you and the amazing work that you help people with.
Sure. Just go to PamelaSylvan.com and the journey starts out and networks out from there into all the places that you can possibly go to find me. And I'd also like to talk about I brought out 2 books last year. One's called 80 Things Not to Give a Flying Fig About and What to Do Instead.
I love the title. You knew that title would tweak my funny bone.
It's all the things where we just, do we allow ourselves to go down these rabbit holes and we just get so tied up in it. Oh my gosh, no, don't use your energy like that. Do this instead. And I just pull people to that place where they can start working with that thinking instead. It's a really great exercise to put yourself through every day. And you get to see it. And you get to see the many ways in which you do these things to yourself. It's so unnecessary.
You were right. I forget the title or the concept theory, something about, is this important 5 seconds from now, 5 minutes from now, 5 months
Mhm.
from now, 5 years from now? Since I learned that a few years ago, I've always run things through that channel of,
Yeah.
oh, before I get all my panties up in a bunch, is it really
Yeah.
gonna be important in 5 seconds?
So those are the types of things that I'm up to, as well as I am going to be introducing a micro community just for the quest and accountability. Because I know, like I lovingly call this beautiful time in our lives our sacred pot of available time. And I really want people to get the most out of this as they can because we have so much wisdom, knowledge, experience. Let's do something amazing with it.
Oh, I love that, love that. Everyone, that's Pamela Sylvan at PamelaSylvan.com, and give us your URL on YouTube too, because I love all your little adventure videos.
I have 2 channels. One is Mentor Pam and Van on YouTube, and the other one is called Natural Mojo.
And they're both awesome in the natural Pam in a van. I
Yeah,
love that one.
yeah.
Easy to remember, everyone. So everyone, that's Pamela Sylvan. Awesome. Thank you for joining us today. I just appreciate all your wisdom to start our new year out on the right foot and the right path. And one thing just popped into my mind. You said you had 2 books, but you only gave us the title of one from last year. What's the other one?
The other one is called Deep Soul Journal. And again, I'm using the premise of working with yourself every day. You go back to that journal. I have the same 4 questions and one statement, and it's you versus you. So every day you get to go back and answer those questions. So you're writing the story of your life and progress every single day in the book. We're co-creating the book together.
Oh, that sounds interesting.
Mhm.
Fantastic. As I said, everyone, that's the amazing Pamela Sylvan, the Mojo Maker, plus so much else. Thank you for spending some time with us. Everyone, have a great week, whatever your adventures, and join me next week for another brand new episode. Enjoy.
The information provided on the Autoimmune Hour, Understanding Autoimmune, and Life Interrupted Radio, including the websites understandingautoimmune.com and lifeinterruptedradio.com, plus social media, is for educational purposes only. What you read, hear, and see on the Autoimmune Hour, Understanding Autoimmune, and Life Interrupted Radio, and its websites, and other media outlets is based on experience only. The information should never be used for any legal, diagnostic, or treatment purposes.